been in stage piano mode, really kickstarted by the release of Roland's recent V-Stage pianos, the 76 and the 88 note version. So we thought, here's a great opportunity and excuse to look back at, say, the last 5 years of all of the best stage pianos that the world has to offer and give them a fresh 2025 look. So in today's video, we're doing just that with Yamaha's YC88. How does it stack up with the rest of today's offering? What still stands out as being unique and really fun to play as a musician? And what are the things that now with 3 or 4 years worth of history with this instrument would we look at and say, maybe this for the next version? Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get started with this right away. So this is Yamaha's natural wood action. It's got a wood core and it's got a synthetic plastic top to it, along with texture on the top of the black keys and a textureless but matte white key surface. So with an action like this, when you are playing in acoustic piano mode, I think it feels really nice and natural because you've got kind of the resistance that is going to feel kind of like a small grand piano. And I had a similar sense of that when I was playing a Roland RD2000 myself, is those heavier actions start to feel a little unnatural whenever you get into, say, organ playing or Rhodes, which could be one of the reasons why the most modern stage pianos have started backing off of those really heavy actions. So let's take a look at the layout of the instrument, listen to some sounds, and get some musical impressions. So the YC88 definitely embraces the modular design that a lot of the current stage pianos have embraced, meaning that you have a section where you control a particular tone module. For instance, this is the section where you're going to be dealing with your Hammond or your organ tone generator. Then you move over and you're dealing with your keys and your synth. Now, one of the things on the YC88 is for an instrument that has this level of surface control and, you know, an instrument that's really supposed to deliver a very intuitive live experience, you've only got really 3 layers that you're dealing with at any given time. Now, that is both positive, but depending on, I guess, the complexity of the show that you might be putting together, that limit of 3 might leave you feeling a little bit wanting for something slightly more. And then finally, over on the right side, we've got our global effects, speaker, reverb, and EQ, which you have the ability in some cases to apply globally, or in others selectively to one of those 3 tone modules at any given time. So let's now actually dig in a little bit to each one of these modules and understand how those live controls work. Let's first cover the organ module. So for anybody who's worked with electronic organs before, this module is going to feel really quite at home. All of the familiar controls are in place, and they've got these nice manual, high quality drawbars where you can construct in real time whatever sound or tonal mix that you want out of the organ. For every one of the modules, you've got the ability to turn it on or off with these toggle switches. So simply flipping it up like this puts organ on. Now you've got 2 manuals, if you will, with the organ, your upper and your lower, just like a real organ. You can toggle the settings back and forth between that and this. Then you've also got a split mode. So if the split light isn't on, then you can use this kind of as a toggle, almost as though it's 2 separate settings that you can move back and forth between. And then over here, now in this case, both are set to exactly the same. So why don't we give this some juice with some of those. You've also got global volume, or I should say volume that applies to both the upper and the lower manual, and you've got a pre-drive, and then this allows you to select between the different tone models. So I believe there's 4 for the Hammond and 4 for the F, which has to stand for Farfisa. You've also got your rotary control over here and the ability to shift your octaves up and down, which for anyone who's ever done any organ work is really critical, because depending on the tonal mix you've got, that sense of which octave is really the center of the note can change pretty drastically. So there's a lot of times where you want to be shifting that around the keyboard. So now let's do a split where we've got the lower applied to a lower and the upper and the upper. So we're going to split that. So now we've got so there's an example where we're probably going to want that lower up by an octave. Then moving over to the piano and the synth module. This in some ways works the same as the organ in that there's kind of two manuals, if you will, and you can turn those on and off independent of one another. So you've got your piano A or your piano B, and really this is not even piano, it's just keys. So if we turn keys A on, and we're going to be selecting A, here are the categories you've got: piano, e-piano, synth, and others. This is something that you're either going to like or you're not like, but the only way to actually scroll through the piano options and e-piano options is to use this up and down toggle switch. So you can do that one at a time. If you press and hold it, then you can see the list and you can go through like that. So you can use this to pretty intuitively select the sound you want for the keys A option. Let's say you wanted a Rhodes. And then let's say for B, you wanted a string. That happens to be what's already there. Just like the organ, you could do a split with this. So let's say you wanted to have just the strings in your left hand and your Rhodes in your right hand, sort of providing some sort of a pad with your left. So on B, we're going to say we want that split. And on A, we want the right split. So this is now going to let us play strings, but that, of course, is too low. So we're going to hop over to the octave. We're going to shift that string up. And likewise on the keys, we're going to shift that down. Now, let's say we want to add a little bit of richness and a little bit of depth to that. So we're going to turn on, let's say, harmonic enhancer. And let's also turn on some compression. You can hear that starting to hit. So now there's another effect that we could apply in addition to those two effects. So if we are going to turn this on, now we've got the ability to, let's say, on the keys A. So now we can hear that sort of delay effect just on the Rhodes, or just a reverb. Then in addition to that, we've got the speaker amp sim that's on there. Again, we can apply that to just one of the three tone generators, either organ, key A, or key B. And then we've got our various speaker amp simulators that we can select by pressing that. Again, turning it on through there. RTRA, rotary, So the routing options here give you the ability to apply all of your standard effects that you'd expect, but also pretty easily play with things like sending a Rhodes through a rotary speaker or sending strings through, a big giant distorted guitar amplifier if you wanted that sound. So lots of kind of interesting possibilities. And then your reverb engine, you can have apply to 1, 2, 3, or all three at once with a standard depth. So you don't even have to use up your effect as a reverb. You can just have that reverb as its own. And then you got a master EQ with the mid having a sweepable frequency in there so that you could really sort of find the center and sculpt the sound that way. Now, as you're going through and creating and finding all of these different combinations, you have the ability to save this into 160 user slots. That's organized into 8 slots over 20 banks. And saving it is really quite simple. It already comes out of the factory, I think with something like 140, and some of them are really pretty fun. This is where this largely comes into play. And your data knob is going to allow you to very quickly scan through all 160, and they are somewhat organized. Detroit, Oregon. Let's see what that's about. Nice. In some regards, this reminds me a lot of an Arty 8080X from Roland. The fact that you've got 3 sounds to work with, the fact that you've got sort of a mix of nice user interface controls where you can pretty easily build these, 3 stacks and then pre-save them into a wide number of user slots. In other regards, you can tell that Nord's had a big influence on this design in terms of the modular nature of how they've laid out all of these independent tone generators. But here's the one thing that I really, really miss on the YC88 now that I've worked with some of these other more recent releases, is the fact that in the moment, there's actually no way to set up any setting on any of these modules if the module is off, which means you have to turn the module on in order to really affect or pre-select anything. So in the moment, if I'm playing, say, an organ, I'm like, I know in 8 bars, I didn't think I was gonna want this, but I'm definitely gonna wanna have a Rhodes just in the top half, and I'm gonna solo on the Rhodes, and I'm gonna keep going with the organ. Well, without turning on keys A or keys B, there's no way for me to see what the split point is. There's no way for me to pre-select that sound. You have to turn it on, then make the adjustment, which makes doing that in real time almost impossible. If you can't pre-see what's about to be turned on or off, the likelihood you're going to be playing around with that in real time is pretty low. So here's what I like about the YC88 still in 2025. It is a simple machine to get on and to use and to figure out. Without any user manual at all, within about 20-30 minutes, I pretty well knew my way around the entire machine. And that's a great thing, because a stage piano really should be a live tool where you're able to get the sounds you want, build the presets, and not have to spend hours and hours and hours of pre-work in this really complicated workstation environment trying to do that. It should be simple, and it is simple. I also think that the organ sim sounds fantastic. It's a super believable organ sim. Really enjoy the grittiness that you can get. Even more notably for me is it's quite common, even amongst other Yamaha models, that the effects engine or the effects routing usually takes you into menus to get certain effects applied to certain patches, etc., etc. This does not do that. This keeps everything very easy and very visual. So while in some regards, somebody might look at this and go, well, it's kind of limited. There's not like a ton you can do. I don't feel like there's layers and layers of menus and routing options. Well, yeah, sure. But it is something that's very simple to use and apply in real time without needing a degree in engineering. Couple of other spec things for people checking out this instrument maybe for the first time. We've got 128 notes worth of polyphony on this machine. It also has extensive integrations where you can be using this and connecting this to a number of DAW environments. It also has assignable controls for all of the effects that we've been taking a look at. So you can have assignable pedals, expression pedals. You've also got the assignable, what usually are mod wheels, but up here are mod toggles, and all of those can be assigned per live set. Thanks for checking out our 2025 fresh take on Yamaha's YC88. If you've enjoyed this, please stick around and check out many other reviews. We'll try and put a few links down in the description. My name is Stu Harrison. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. This is Merriam Pianist on YouTube, and we will see you again soon.